Wow! Quite good. Can we make it perfect? Ready? And this time I won't say 1, 2, 3. One more time. Ah, quite good. You could be a musician. Who is the number 1? Huh? So now let's assess number 2. Right? So you ready? What's wrong with me? Maybe the guy has better musicians than you, huh? Or maybe something's wrong. I'll try again, right? Okay, so it makes sense that they find number 1, yeah. In the real world, right? What do you want? Huh? So anyway, number 2 became great, and it's weird because at the beginning of his career, he was more micromanaging than number 1. I want to show you how number 2 was when he was
So, das ist die letzte Probe vor der Probe, die wir noch machen. Bitte, darf ich noch einmal die Stellen geben, die also besonders wichtig sind. Das ganze Stück fängt doch.
Maybe not the lucky day. 1 note out of 45 minutes. No good. They have a 2 minute speech already.
Langsam, schwer. Deswegen sollte der erste Anfang nicht so mit einem Akzent kommen, sondern lassen Sie sich Zeit. Spüren Sie, bis die Kontrabässe anfangen. Und dann den Akzent langsam hereindrücken und nicht hinschlagen, bitte. Warten Sie es ab, atmen Sie lang. Aber etwas mehr Pauze. Wenn es da ist, sollten wir nicht...
You want the next 2 minutes on how the first no, it's okay, yeah? So, here we have an extreme micromanager. And one day, something happened in his life that shifted him towards more empowering. And that was when he learned how to ride a horse. Or more precisely, the day when he went to learn how to jump obstacles with a horse. He was really scared because he thought, how can I lift such a big animal in the sky over an obstacle? So he was paralyzed, could not move. So anyway, he puts himself on the horse goes, and aligns with the obstacle and starts to run, and then comes close to the obstacle, and then what happens? What do you think? Sorry? He jumps. That's common sense, right? And that's what happened. The horse jumped over the obstacle. Why wouldn't he? He does this every day. So then our Karajan, number 2, had this illumination like, wow, hallelujah, I do nothing and he can do the stuff. How about my musicians? What if I did nothing? I've been like making their life miserable with spending 30 minutes on the first note on the symphony and other stuff. What if I just watch them and see how far they can go without me telling them each second of the way? So he did that, and what did he find? That they went 97% of the way. And he was stunned, he had no idea they could play so well because they had never played so well when he was micromanaging them. Does this make sense? So then his JD changed. My job description is becoming manager 3% perfection. That's just another job. And then he became to change totally his gesture, like you could see. So journalists noticed and thought, oh, that's weird. So they asked him, Maestro, with all due respect, why are you not giving precise indication to your orchestra like all the other conductors? You know what he said? Because that is the worst damage I could do to my musicians, then they would not listen to each other. And what you've seen in the second little video is just people closing their eyes because they're listening to each other. So the stories end at the end of this number 2 Karajan's life. In fact, so he's very, very old in this video. He's actually about to die. he died a few days later, and the whole world knew he was about to die because he was 90 years old and almost paralyzed, but still a musician. And so all the journalists from the music world went to attend that concert, and that's what they saw and they heard. And that was surprising, but from Brasilia to Tokyo and from Sydney to New York, they wrote all of them the same thing. That concert was not from this earth, this planet, it was from, it was divine, it was a beauty in music we never ever heard. And I think it may be a reminder of what Lao Tzu, the Chinese philosopher from 4,000 years ago, said. The hallmark of a great leader is that when he's gone, people say, we did it ourselves. This is what happened, right? They did it themselves with an incapacitated leader, and that produced the absolute best ever music journalists have ever heard from that area. So what can we take from this real story as leaders in our lives and in our companies, in fact? How about these questions? So we take the reflection further. The first one is, how much more can you get from your team by doing less yourself? And then, how about, how you will know when you're not empowering enough? People will obviously not tell you. So how will you know? And probably you don't want to ask a question like, okay, tell me how I can improve my delegation style. Maybe it's wiser to tell people, you know, I'm thinking how I can improve my delegation style, and I'd love you to tell me maybe 3 areas where you think I should help you more, and 3 areas where, in contrary, I should give you more space, I should give you more room. So very softly phrased, so it's a safe question for subordinates to answer. Then you will know how you can empower more. Right? How about how you can motivate your subordinates to take more initiatives, like Karaya did. How can you do that? We'll come back to that a bit later. But certainly you want to create a company where the atmosphere is like, here people get killed only for not trying, which means you have to eradicate the fear of failure. If there is fear of failing, is failing is a bad thing in the company. Of course, I suppose that we manage what failure will allow. Then, of course, people will not take initiative, and nothing great will really happen. Does this make sense? Then another one for your reflection is, precisely how much do you encourage failure within calculated risk? Because if you don't encourage failure, then you don't encourage initiative. You don't encourage autonomy. Your people will not fly higher because it's too dangerous to try. To just try. Does this make sense? And one last for the row, what can you do to have your team members listen more to each other, like we heard from journalists questioning Karayana, and play as a team? That's also quite difficult. Then of course great leadership is difficult. We'll come back to that one a bit later. Okay? And let's assume you do that, or you do more of that. And then still you see that your organization, your people's capabilities are not growing as much as you want them to. Then what question should you be asking yourself? That's one. And I'd like to have this other conductor give you his take on that. His name is Ben Zander. He's quite a cool guy, and he's written a very good book which is called The Art of Possibilities, when he's looking at awakening possibilities in people.
See, these are totally different worlds. Now, I had an amazing experience. I was 45 years old. I'd been conducting for 20 years, and I suddenly had a realization. The conductor of an orchestra doesn't make a sound. My picture appears on the front of the CD.